Hi, I'm Cody Delmendo of CHGO Cubs.
And I'm Greg Braggs Jr., Mayor Meatball of CHGO Bears.
And this is CHGO Tavern Style. And today's topic is biggest gut punches in Chicago sports history. They put the two meatballs of this office together and had us talk about pain.
Yeah.
How meaty.
Have you ever had meatballs on your Tavern Style pizza? Because I think that's what we're doing here.
I mean, sausage is the closest thing I got for you there, Braggs. That's the closest thing I got, man.
Biggest gut punches, right? Because the Detroit Lions, their fan base, Detroit knows all about heartache. Maybe not at the level Chicago does, but the Lions fans certainly felt it in the NFC Championship. Worst comeback loss, in their regard ever.
That's one they're definitely going to remember for a long time. Similar to a lot of moments, games that I still have not forgot or been able to let go. It's like a scar. Like you can't see it on me, but it's definitely there. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the NFC Championship game for the Bears-Packers, losing to your rivals hurt. Jay Cutler getting hurt in the first half. It was kind of one of those bizarre things, but I don't think it compared to blowing a 24-7 lead like the Lions had. I mean, to taste the Super Bowl and to lose it like that was a little different than the NFC Championship I was at.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been to like a Cubs playoff game, a Bears playoff game. Like I've never been to one Chicago sports playoff game, so I haven't been there in person to endure the moment with everyone else. But the moments when they've happened, I know exactly where I was. I remember who I'm with, and in some weird, sick way, it's like the thing me and my friends or my family, we have this like connection with it. It's unfortunate, but it's just something that you just never forget. Right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like we're not spoiled like Boston sports fans who live in championship glory every year. It seems like. So for us, it is the pain through the pleasure, and the champagne does taste sweeter once you've been through it, but being raised on Michael Jeffrey Jordan and 6 championships didn't hurt either.
Yeah, that'll do. Another point as well is like we don't have the sunny and 75-degree weather that teams on the West Coast or that are in the South, like Los Angeles, or
they can get over it and go to the beach.
Yeah, it's like, the Dodgers lost. Okay, well I'm gonna go to the beach tomorrow because that's gonna make me feel better.
Right.
We don't have that. It's like when the Bears lose,
we're in cold hibernation and ordering $50 at Taco Bell.
Exactly. When the Cubs lose in the playoffs, we're ordering $50 at Taco Bell across the street in the Wrigleyville location, and we're eating our feelings.
Yeah.
All right. And then dealing with the cold fall weather for months to come.
Or in this case, a 22-inch Tavern Style pizza.
Yeah, in this case, yes. So me and Braggs talked about this. Since I am the Cubs guy and he's the Bears guy, we're going to roll reverse here. I'll give my Bears moment, or the biggest gut punch Bears moment for me, and he's going to do Cubs. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Sure. There's a lot of them, right? As far as Cubs.
Unfortunately.
But for the ones in our lifetime, it's impossible to not talk about Game 6 of the NLCS and the Steve Bartman moment. And everybody always talks about, like, you knew exactly where you were when that happened. And for me, it's kind of this odd thing because when the Cubs lost Game 6 of the NLCS, obviously just it was one of the worst things that I've ever experienced as a Chicago sports fan. Bizarre things that's ever happened. Just the way, the complete meltdown. Alex Gonzalez trips up the double play. Moises Alou yelling at a fan. Everything happens so fast to try to make sense of it all. And then for me, the way I always remember that story is kind of this weird dichotomy because a guy that I share season tickets with, and we still have to this day, he called me that night. He called my mom that night. It's like midnight. And my mom's like, yeah. And before I know it, basically what was said was, I'm not going to Game 7. They're not winning. You can have the tickets. So for me, having never been to a playoff game in my life, certainly one of that magnitude, to go to a Game 7, it was like getting the golden ticket. And I was like, I got on the phone. I'm like, you're giving me these tickets? He's like, yeah, you can have them. They're not winning. I go, you're crazy. They're going to win. We got Kerry Wood on the bump. And they had never that season lost back-to-back games with Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. So to me, I was like, all right, Band-Aid rip. That game sucked, but let's get to, Game 7. And So it's like a package deal when you talk about the Bartman moment, because people forget about Game 7 as if it was a foregone conclusion. And I'll just never forget the 95-year-old lady bawling her eyes out in the stands and knowing that she probably never saw the Cubs win the World Series. And that's the kind of heartache we live with here in Chicago.
Yeah. One of the more underrated parts of that entire story is the fact that years later, Moises Alou like openly came out and said that they didn't think they were going to win the next game either. Like the players didn't, like they packed their bags or whatever that quote was.
They'd already ordered their flights.
Yeah, already ordered their flights. Yeah. That's the biggest part about that entire thing that pisses me off the most is like the players had given up.
Well, we didn't consider their bullpen.
Right. That's true too. So that's obviously one of the biggest moments. When I think about the Bears, obviously there's so many. From my lifetime, you know, the Super Bowl wasn't necessarily a gut punch because like it started with Devin Hester taking back that kick return for a touchdown. And then it was just like a slow pain because it was a honest, like no one talks about the Super Bowl except for Bears fans and Colts fans probably, right? So that game wasn't a gut punch, but it was just a brutal loss because you got all the way there and you lost. But when you talk about gut punches, I think about obviously the double doink in 2018, Cody Parkey missing the kick. Then he goes on Good Morning America, literally like a day or two later. Like, oh my, I felt bad for the guy. And then for him to actually do that, then I was on the wagon of fuck this guy. I'm done with him because that was such a me thing to do. And it's like, at least like be with the guys that you went to war with and I don't know, have their backs. And it's just like, it was very, very badly timed. So the double doink.
It was a CYA moment, cover your ass, right?
Yeah, it definitely was. And it was one of those things that I feel like since the Cubs have won the World Series in 2016, the double doink now ranks number one for me in biggest gut punching losses ever because you just felt like, especially after you watch the playoffs go through, you felt like that team had it to at least get to the Super Bowl and maybe win, because that Super Bowl that year ended up being the Patriots and the Rams, and the Patriots won like 13-3. Right. Like it was a disgusting Super Bowl, and like the route both those teams took to get there, I don't know. It feels like that team, that Bears team with that defense, the game manager Mitch Trubisky, and the run game they had, I felt like they could have done it.
I mean, the double doink was the Bartman moment for the Bears.
Yeah.
It was a cursed moment, and you could feel it. Like it was tense in the stadium. To understand, Bears fans already had their issues with Cody Parkey leading up to that moment. He makes the kick before they ice the kicker. They call timeout, so it doesn't count. And the iced kick that he made didn't feel great. Like it barely got in.
We all had the anxiety.
And so everybody around the stadium, you could feel it. It was palpable in the stadium. They were like, he ain't making this kick. And sure enough, not off one post, but off the post and the crossbar, the double doink. And now every time you hear that audible doink off the post of any game, they bring up the double doink. It's something we will never escape, just like the Bartman moment.
We will never be able to escape that, and me and you will never escape wearing the same hoodie on this show.
The meatballs, we had to match. I am a little disappointed we didn't get any Pizza Hogue, and Matt Peck got pizza yesterday. We didn't get pizza.
Come on, guys.
But maybe next time.
With
some meatballs on it.
Meatballs, for sure.
We all silly like the mayor.